Hey, English learners! Welcome back to Talk English with Emma, your friendly place to improve your English through simple, real-life conversations. I'm Emma.
And I'm Alex, and we are so happy you decided to spend some time with us today. Whether you are listening with a cup of something warm in your hands right now, or just about to make one, this episode was made for exactly this kind of moment.
On this channel, we make English learning easy, practical, and enjoyable. We focus on everyday speaking, useful expressions, and conversations that help you sound more natural and confident. If you enjoy learning with us, please like this episode, subscribe to Talk English with Emma, and share it with a friend who is also learning English. It really does mean so much to us. Okay, let's get into today's topic.
Emma, before we start, can I ask you something?
Always.
Coffee or tea?
Oh, you are starting with the big questions today.
The biggest.
Okay. Honestly, it depends on the moment. First thing in the morning, before anything else has happened, before I have spoken to another human being or looked at my phone, coffee. Strong, hot, no sugar. That first cup of the day is almost sacred to me. But in the afternoon, when things have slowed down a little and I want something that feels like a pause rather than a push, tea, every time.
That is the most perfectly balanced answer I have ever heard.
I have thought about it a lot. What about you?
I am a coffee person, completely, and without apology. I have tried to like tea. I have genuinely tried. But for me, nothing does what coffee does. There's this moment, about 3 minutes into the first cup of the morning, where the world becomes clearer, like someone turned up the brightness just slightly, and I live for that moment.
Like someone turned up the brightness. Alex, that is such a good description.
I have also thought about it a lot.
And that right there, that exchange we just had, is exactly what today's episode is about. Because coffee and tea are not just drinks, they're some of the richest conversation territory in the English language. People talk about them all the time, at work, with friends, in cafes, on first dates, on slow Sunday mornings. And yet, most English learners, when the topic of coffee or tea comes up, say something like, I like coffee, it's nice, I drink it in the morning. And then they stop, and the conversation goes quiet.
And what a waste, because there's so much to say. And today, we're going to help you say it. We have 3 ideas that will completely change how you talk about coffee and tea in English. How to move from that flat, forgettable answer to a real conversation that feels warm and alive and easy.
And the third idea, Alex, I want to say this now, the third one surprised even me when I thought about it. Because it is not really about coffee or tea at all. It is about something much bigger. So please stay with us all the way to the end.
But let us start from the beginning. Idea number 1, stop describing what you drink. Start describing how it makes you feel. Because here's the truth about why coffee and tea conversations in English so often fall flat. People describe the drink rather than the experience. I drink black coffee. I like green tea. I have 2 cups a day. These are facts about a beverage. They are not interesting. They do not open a door. They do not make the other person feel anything.
But the experience of a drink, the ritual of making it, the feeling of the first sip, the specific moment in the day when you need it most, the memory it brings back, the way it changes something in you, that is endlessly interesting because it's not really about the drink. It's about life, about how we move through our days, about the small things we reach for when we need comfort or energy or a moment of pause.
Think about this. When you describe your morning coffee or your evening tea, you're not just describing a drink, You're describing a whole relationship with time, with yourself, with the rhythm of your day, and that is a conversation worth having.
Let me show you the difference. Version 1. I drink coffee every morning. I have it black. I need it to wake up. Version 2. My morning coffee is the one non-negotiable part of my day. Before I have it, I'm not really a person yet. I'm just a shape that looks like a person and makes sounds that are almost words. But after that first cup, I become myself again. And that transition, that very specific few minutes, I protect it. I do not check my phone. I do not speak to anyone. I just sit with it.
I completely understand that shape that looks like a person and makes sounds that are almost words.
I think most of the world understands that.
And notice the English in that version too. Non-negotiable, not a person yet. I become myself again. I protect it. These are not advanced phrases, but they are specific and they are honest, and they paint a picture so clear that anyone who has ever needed their morning coffee felt something when they heard it.
And that feeling is the conversation. When someone nods and says, "Yes, exactly," or "That is me every single morning," that is connection. That is what a good conversation about coffee or tea actually is. Not an exchange of beverage facts. A moment of recognition between two people.
I want to share something. I grew up in a home where the kettle was always on. My mother made tea the way some people say prayers, with complete attention and a kind of quiet ritual. She had a specific teapot that she warmed before she put the tea in. She had the exact right mug for each person in the family. She knew how strong everyone liked it, how much milk, how long to let it brew, and when things were difficult, when someone was sad or sick or worried, the first thing she did was put the kettle on.
Alex, that is so beautiful.
And I only realized much later that the tea itself was almost secondary. What she was doing was creating a pause, saying, "Something difficult is happening, but we are going to stop for a moment and sit together and hold something warm and breathe." And the tea was just the form that pause took.
And that is what we mean when we say stop describing the drink and start describing the feeling, because the feeling is always about something more than the drink. It is about comfort, ritual, memory, the shape of a day, the people we love.
I still cannot make tea without thinking about my mother's kitchen. That is not about tea. That is about home.
So, idea number 1. When someone asks about your relationship with coffee or tea in English, do not describe the drink. Describe the feeling. Describe the ritual. Describe the specific moment in the day when you need it most, or the memory it carries. That is the real answer. And it's always more interesting than the drink order.
Okay, idea number 2, and this one gives you the actual language, the phrases and expressions that make coffee and tea conversations in English sound natural and fluent and real.
Because a lot of learners know the basic words: coffee, tea, milk, sugar, hot, cold. But the English that people actually use when they talk about these drinks is much richer than that. And knowing these phrases will make you sound instantly more comfortable and more fluent in any cafe, any kitchen, any conversation where these drinks come up.
Let's start with how to describe your coffee order. In a cafe, the most common phrases you will hear and use are, "Could I get a flat white, please?" Or, "I'll have a double espresso." Or, "Can I get an oat milk latte?" Now, flat white, double espresso, oat milk latte, these are all common cafe drinks, and it's worth knowing what they are.
And espresso is a small, very strong, concentrated coffee. It is the base for most cafe coffee drinks. A double espresso means 2 shots, stronger. A flat white is espresso with a small amount of steamed milk. It is smaller and stronger than a latte. A latte is espresso with a lot of steamed milk. It is gentler and creamier. A cappuccino has espresso, steamed milk, and a thick foam on top. And oat milk, almond milk, and soy milk are alternatives to regular cow's milk that many people use for different reasons.
And a really useful phrase in a cafe is, "Can you make that a takeaway?" Which means you want it in a cup to take with you rather than drink there. Or, "Is there somewhere I can sit?" Or, "Could I get some water with that?" These are all natural, common phrases that will make you sound completely at ease in any English-speaking cafe.
Now let's talk about tea, because tea has its own whole world of language. The most basic question with tea is, how do you take your tea? This is how English speakers ask whether you want milk, sugar, lemon, or nothing in your tea. And you can answer, "I take it black," which means no milk and no sugar, or "just a splash of milk, please," which means a very small amount of milk, or "milk and 2 sugars," which means milk and 2 spoons of sugar.
A splash is such a useful English word in this context. A splash means a very small amount of liquid. You will also hear a dash, which means the same thing, just a dash of milk. These are natural ways to describe a small quantity without saying, "a tiny little bit of milk, please," which sounds more like a learner.
And for loose leaf tea, tea made from actual tea leaves rather than a tea bag, you might hear phrases like, "let it brew," which means let it sit in the hot water long enough to become strong. Or you might hear steeped, which means the same thing. I let it steep for 3 minutes. Or, "it is a little too strong for me. Can you add some hot water?"
Let's also talk about some really natural expressions people use when they just need a hot drink. You will hear, "I'm gasping for a cup of tea." Gasping means desperately needing something, as if you cannot breathe without it. "I'm gasping for a coffee right now." That's very natural British English. Or, "I could murder a coffee right now," which sounds alarming but just means you want one very badly. Or, "Shall I put the kettle on?" Which means, shall I boil some water for tea or coffee? This is one of the most quintessentially British phrases in the language, and you will hear it constantly.
Shall I put the kettle on? That phrase alone could carry a whole friendship.
It really could. And on the other side, what if you do not drink coffee or tea? That's completely fine, and there are very natural ways to say it. You can say, "I'm not really a coffee person, to be honest." Or, "I gave up caffeine a while ago and I honestly don't miss it as much as I expected to." Or, "I prefer herbal teas. I love chamomile and peppermint." These are all perfectly natural answers that invite further conversation.
And herbal tea, or herbal infusion, which is the more specific term, is a whole world unto itself. Chamomile is soothing and gentle, often drunk before bed. Peppermint is refreshing and good for digestion. Ginger tea is warming and a little spicy. These are all common and well-known in English-speaking countries, and knowing their names makes you sound very at home in any kitchen conversation.
Idea number 2 in one sentence. Learn the language of these drinks, not just their names. Learn the phrases people use when they talk about them naturally, and use those phrases. They will make you sound comfortable and fluent in a way that no textbook vocabulary list ever quite manages.
Okay, and now the third idea, the one I promised at the beginning.
I have been waiting for this one.
Idea number 3, use coffee and tea as a way into a deeper conversation. Because here is something remarkable about these two drinks. They are almost universally understood. Almost everyone in the world has a relationship with one of them, and that shared relationship is one of the most reliable bridges between two people in any language.
What do you mean by a bridge?
I mean that coffee and tea are starting points. They are not the destination. When you ask someone how they take their coffee or whether they are a tea person, you are not really asking about coffee or tea. You are asking, tell me something about yourself. Tell me how you like things. Tell me what you reach for when you need comfort. Tell me something about your morning. Tell me about a memory. Tell me about your mother's kitchen.
And the person asking that question might not even know that is what they are asking, but that is what they are asking.
And if you understand that, then a simple conversation about coffee and tea becomes a doorway into so much more, into culture and memory and personality and the small rituals that make us who we are.
I want to tell you something that happened to me last year. I was working in a new city and I did not know many people yet. And on my second day, a colleague appeared at my desk and said, "I'm getting coffee. Do you want one?" And I said yes. And we walked to the cafe around the corner. And on the way, she asked me how I liked my coffee. And I told her. And she told me how she liked hers. And from that exchange, from that tiny, ordinary exchange about milk and sugar, she said, "You must be a morning person." And I said, "Only after the coffee." And she laughed, and we talked all the way to the cafe and all the way back. And by the time we were back at our desks, I had a friend.
From a coffee run. From how do you take it?
From one question about a drink. And the drink was almost beside the point. The drink was just the reason to walk somewhere together. And the walk was just the reason to talk. And the talk was the beginning of something real.
And that is what we want for you. The next time someone asks about your coffee or your tea, or the next time you are in a cafe with someone and the drinks arrive and there is a moment of quiet, use it. Say something real. Say something specific. Tell them about your morning ritual. Tell them about the drink that got you through a difficult week. Ask them how they take theirs. Ask them if they are a morning person. Ask them what they do while they drink their first cup of the day.
These questions sound small, but they are not small. They are invitations. And people who feel invited into a conversation remember the person who invited them.
Okay, time for our word tour. Let's slow down and walk gently through some of the words from today.
First word, ritual. A ritual is a repeated action done in a specific way that carries meaning. It is more than a habit. A habit is just something you do. A ritual is something you do with attention, with intention, something that feels almost ceremonial. For example, my morning coffee is a ritual for me. I make it the same way every day, and that sameness is part of what makes it feel safe. Or, making tea has become a kind of ritual in our house. We do it the same way at the same time, and it marks the end of the workday. Say it. Ritual. Ritual. A word with a little ceremony in it.
Next word, soothing. Soothing means gently calming, softening something that was tense or anxious or sore. Something that is soothing brings comfort and quietness. For example, there is something deeply soothing about holding a warm cup in your hands when you're stressed. Or, chamomile tea is soothing. It is one of those things that actually does what it is supposed to do. Say it. Soothing. Soothing. Even the sound of it is a little soothing.
Next phrase, I cannot function without. This is a very natural, slightly dramatic English phrase for expressing that you need something to feel normal. For example, I cannot function without my morning coffee. It is not optional. Or, I genuinely cannot function before 10 in the morning without at least 1 cup of tea. Say it. I cannot function without. I cannot function without. A wonderfully human thing to admit.
Next word, indulge. To indulge means to allow yourself something pleasurable, something you enjoy, often something that feels like a small treat. For example, on Sundays, I indulge in a really good coffee. Not the quick weekday one, but a proper, slow one with good beans and no rush. Or sometimes I indulge in a fancy tea from a specialist shop rather than the ordinary tea bag kind, and it feels like such a small luxury. Say it. Indulge. Indulge. It even sounds like a small pleasure.
Next word, aroma. Aroma means a pleasant, distinctive smell. It is a richer, more evocative word than smell. When you talk about the aroma of something, you are saying the smell is not just present, but meaningful, inviting, something that affects you before you have even tasted the thing. For example, the aroma of fresh coffee in the morning is genuinely one of my favorite things in the world. Or there is an aroma that good tea has when you lift the lid of the pot that is just completely calming. Say it. Aroma. Aroma. A soft, warm word for a soft, warm thing.
And our last word today, comfort. Comfort means a feeling of ease and warmth and safety, being without pain or anxiety. When something gives you comfort, it makes hard things softer, uncertain things steadier. For example, sometimes a cup of tea is not really about the tea. It's about comfort, about having something warm and familiar when everything else feels complicated. Or there's real comfort in making coffee the same way every morning, the sameness of it, the reliability of it. Say it. Comfort. Comfort. Perhaps the most important word in today's entire episode.
6 words today. Ritual, soothing, I cannot function without, indulge, aroma, and comfort. These words do not just describe drinks, they describe a whole way of being in the world, a whole relationship with the small pleasures that keep us going.
Now it's your turn. This is our favorite part.
Yes, because now the conversation is yours.
Here's your challenge. Tell us about your coffee or your tea in the comments. Not what you drink, how it makes you feel. Describe your ritual. Describe the moment in the day when you need it most. Tell us a memory it carries. Tell us what it does for you that nothing else quite does.
You could write something like, my morning tea is the only time in the whole day when I am completely alone with my thoughts. Everyone else is asleep, the house is quiet, and I sit by the window with my cup and I just exist for 10 minutes before the day begins. Or, I cannot drink coffee anymore because it makes me anxious, but I miss it so much. I miss the smell of it. I miss the ritual of it. I drink tea now, and it's lovely, but it's a different kind of lovely.
And maybe something simple. Something like, I am a coffee person, and I am not ashamed. 2 cups a day. No milk, no sugar, non-negotiable. That is who I am, and I am at peace with it.
Write yours, in whatever English you have today, because today's English is enough. It is always enough to say something true.
And your comment might be exactly what another learner needed to read today. Someone sitting with their morning cup, wondering if their small rituals are worth talking about. And then they see your words and they think, yes, this is worth something. This ordinary, daily, warm thing is worth putting into English.
One honest sentence gives permission to 100 quiet hearts.
Before we finish, we want to say something. The conversations you have in English do not have to be about big, important things to matter. They do not have to be about politics or history or philosophy. They can be about coffee, about tea, about the 10 minutes before the rest of the world wakes up, about a mother who always knew how strong everyone liked it, about a colleague who said, "Do you want one?" and changed everything.
The small conversations are often the most important ones because they are where real life happens, and being able to have them in English, naturally, comfortably, warmly, that is one of the most useful and most beautiful things you can do with this language.
So keep going, keep practicing, keep reaching for the honest, specific detail that makes a conversation come alive, and keep making your tea and your coffee the exact right way, because that is yours, and it matters.
If this episode helped you, please give it a like, subscribe to Talk English with Emma, and share it with someone you would love to have a coffee or a tea with. Your support helps us reach more learners every single week.
Until next time, take care of your English and take care of your rituals, the small, warm, daily ones. This was Talk English with Emma. I'm Emma.
And I'm Alex. We will see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone, and whatever you are drinking right now, enjoy every sip.